Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go! Hey folks, welcome to Ballsy Uncut. I think this is installment 208. I do appreciate you checking it out wherever you're consuming it, however you're consuming it. Please like and share the show. And if you'd like to sponsor, you can DM me, Ballsy Uncut, on X, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, as we run some show clips there on Instagram. But the full shows are on X, Facebook, YouTube. Easiest way is to subscribe, Ballsy Uncut, on YouTube. Man, the CFL fast and furious news. Now, free agency doesn't kick off till February 10th, but the legal tampering window started today as I record this Sunday, February 1st, 2026. The league's going to have to look at this in the future because basically it's all done now. Free agency's a moot point. Now, some teams can agree in principle to a deal and change their mind, like DeMario Houston. He was going to go to BC, but now he's going to Ottawa. Speaking of Ottawa, they plucked the Riders clean. They took A.J. Allen, Baldonado, the global defensive lineman, C.J. Revis going to Ottawa. So is Jake Mayer. Yeah, the Riders lost a few pieces. Now, they did sign some before free agency, you know, the Emilises and the KSBs of the world, Jameer Thurman, an extension, Tavon Campbell, Nelson Lacombo, who we're going to talk to this week. But they lost some big pieces here, like just today. So the day before the tampering window kicked off, Mike Rose re-signed with the Riders. A.J. Ouellette's back on a one-year deal, but the Riders lost Tommy Neild. He goes to Winnipeg. A.J. Allen goes to Ottawa. Joe Robustelli, the receiver, goes to Edmonton. Malik Carney goes to Edmonton. Jake Mayer, Ottawa. Baldonado, Ottawa. C.J. Revis to Ottawa as well. Right now, and you don't win on paper, you don't really lose on, well, you can lose on paper, losing some key guys. And as I look at that lineup, A.J. Allen's going to be a big loss for this team. Tommy Neal's going to be a big loss. He and Trevor Harris had a lot of chemistry, scored the big touchdown to get them to the Grey Cup in the West Final. Seemed like he had 8 touchdown receptions this year. The guy was clutch for the Rough Riders. He's a good special teamer. That's a nice pickup for the Blue Bombers. A.J. Allen, they're going to miss him. Cut his teeth on special teams, then becomes a full-time starter on defense and earns a big payday in Ottawa. Malik Carney was good on that D-line. That'll be another big one that they miss for sure. And, you know, Jake Mayer didn't light the house on fire, but he was a great insurance policy for Trevor Harris. And so now you're going to run it back with 40-year-old Trevor Harris, who proved a lot of people wrong, including myself, at the age of 38 into 39. Will he be 39 into 40 this season? But the Riders did have fortuitous health for this year, for the most part. Yes, you're going to get banged up. Any team is. But they did, and in particular, Trevor Harris, he only missed one game because of an injury. Otherwise, played the rest of the way. So they didn't need Jake Mayer, but it's up to Jack Cohn now to step up, or whoever else they'll bring to training camp. So, yeah, gone is Jake Mayer. And that could be a big blow for the Rough Riders if, it only takes one injury, and I don't wish that on anybody. But if you're running it back, you generally need 2 quarterbacks to win in this league. Trey Ford picked up as a backup quarterback, played out in Waterloo. He's now a Hamilton Tiger Cat, backing up Bo Levi Mitchell because Powell leaves for Edmonton in the quarterback carousel. Dustin Crum goes to Montreal. They say the big winners on paper this tampering window are the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They got Tommy Neild. They got Broxton, the great offensive lineman out of the BC Lions. He becomes the highest paid American offensive lineman. Moxie, corner, 31-year-old corner, comes to Winnipeg from Hamilton. And Tim White, they signed before free agency, cut by Hamilton. And Jake Serezna signing a 2-year deal. So the Winnipeg Blue Bombers spent $1 million on like 4 or 5 players as Kyle Walters raids Wade Miller's wallet. Bombers not happy with their 10-8 finish and a loss in the Eastern semifinal. But as we know, a lot can happen. We're a long way away from training camp, and you can't buy a team. I'm not suggesting the Bombers are trying to buy a team, but they definitely weren't sitting on their hands. They're trying to do everything they can to get back to the top in what should be a real competitive West with the Riders, BC, Winnipeg, and Cody Fajardo running the ship in Edmonton now. Austin Mack goes there. The BC Lions, another 2-year extension with reworking the deal with Nathan Rourke, the outstanding Canadian and MOP, who is recently on this show, friend of the show. So it's going to be a great Western division in the Canadian Football League. But yeah, why even have free agency? It's all done. And come on. There's already, what is it? There was pre-tampering before the legal tampering, because there's no way all these deals would be signed left and right if they just started negotiating when the tampering window opened. Come on. So basically, very anticlimactic is CFL free agency next week. All right, coming up on the show, we're going to talk with our friend Cody Mapes from the Weyburn Red Wings. They had a scary situation happen on the weekend here. Their bus went into the ditch on the way to Melfort, and we all know the PTSD we have as hockey fans in the SJHL with the Humboldt Broncos tragedy and the Swift Current Broncos back in the mid-'80s coming to a game in Regina. We'll talk to the head coach and the GM of the Weyburn Red Wings about that and other things pertaining to the Red Wings in the South Division of the SJHL. And we're also going to catch up with the play-by-play voice of the Calgary Stampeders, Mark Steven, to talk all things Stamps, CFL Winter Meetings, and Calgary Flames. That's all coming up. This is Ballsy Uncut. I'm happy you're along for the ride. Athletes aren't built during the season. They're built here in the off-season, where real progress happens. At the Den Sports Performance and Agility Center, they don't just train, they develop. For athletes ages 13 to 17, they offer team packages and individual group training with up to 5 weekly sessions of your choice of dryland or strength-focused work. Every program blends strength, agility, balance, mobility, speed, and recovery with a focus on durability that most programs overlook. Because showing up on game day means staying strong all season. Every session is coached by a certified speed and strength specialist and focused on long-term athletic success, not quick fixes. Flexible programming, real results. The Den Sports Performance and Agility Center is where serious athletes level up. Book your spot now at thedenyqr.ca. Winter and buses don't add up sometimes, man. Cody Mapes joining us here. So we all know what happened with Humboldt. We're not making light of that. We know what happened with the Swift Current Broncos back in 1986. And I was scrolling on social media, and you guys are going to Melfort to play a game, Cody, and I'm like, the game's been postponed, and then I see a picture of your bus in the ditch. So that's scary. Tell me about that situation.
Yeah, we left Weyburn, and weather this time of year is never perfect, but we kind of figured it was okay. And about half hour down the road, we hit a pretty bad patch of rain, and rain at 0 degrees can do a lot of things. And at the end of the day, we're lucky we weren't going very fast. We were probably only going about 50 kilometers an hour, and our driver had the brains to just drive it into the field instead of trying to pull it back. And so nobody's worse for wear. Everybody's okay health wise, and the bus is okay. And shout out to Grant Nelson, farmer there by Milestone, that came with his payloader and helped pull us out after the boys pushed us about 150 feet to get to the approach. So
yeah.
So you had the guys helping. You had the kids. How about the bus driver? What's his name that he navigated that situation?
Trent Donheimer. He's not our normal bus driver. Yeah, oddly enough, he actually drives for the Estevan Bruins. But our bus driver was out of town, and so he filled in for us. And he kept her up on all the wheels, so that was good.
Okay, wait a minute. Are we suspecting a little sabotage here from the Estevan Bruins bus driver, or what?
You can come to your own conclusion, but I don't know. Maybe they were trying to keep things tighter in the standings for now.
Yeah. All's well that ends well. Well, you know what? It's just fair play because I was supposed to have you on this show a while back, and you didn't answer my call, so I took Koser from the Bruins. So turnabout's fair play. So I'm not that
Yeah,
sad for you now.
yeah, yeah.
All things considered, though, everybody it wasn't a life or death thing, but at that time, with everything going on, we talked about Humboldt and how much it hit the SJHL. Got to rattle you a little bit, though, and maybe pause for reflection. When did you pause for reflection for a little bit?
Yeah, you know what? You definitely think about, hey, should we have went and should we not have went? And I mean, everything is 2020 in hindsight, right? But at the end of the day, I guess we're lucky the way it all played out, and the bus driver was careful while we were driving, or we weren't going too fast or anything like that, and so you definitely have that chance where you're sitting there for 3.5 hours waiting to get out of the ditch, but or out of the field, I should say. But yeah, you definitely reflect and have a moment to just kind of go over your process and stuff like that.
So what is the process, Cody? Who makes the call? Like, is it a league thing? Is it a team thing? Who decides if you're going to go try it on the road when it's like that, when it could be dicey?
You know what? It's definitely a joint thing between myself and the bus company. Like I said, like when we left, it was 3 degrees, and there was moisture. There was moisture everywhere. I mean, we were never going to get away from that. But about half hour down the road, it got a little colder, and I mean, the things that changed for us in half hour were definitely not the wasn't the info we were making a decision with, and so you know what? Like I said, it is what it is. But we're happy that everybody's okay, and we'll find a way to remake that Melfort game at some other point.
Well, you got bigger fish to fry now that everybody's healthy and the bus is okay because you got to get that bus on the road and take on Nipawin and then Flin Flon and Flin Flon. So it'll be an interesting, challenging week for you guys.
Yeah, that's one of the tougher road trips we've had in the last couple of years here, just where everybody is in the standings and stuff like that. Flin Flon's always been up there. Nipwin a little bit lower the last couple of years, but now they're rolling here too, and it's real tight. There's two teams at 52 points, two teams at 55, and I think Flin Flon's at about 63 or something like that. So I mean, there's a lot on at stake here over the next week for some teams to either pull away or stay close. For our sake, we hope that we can pull a little closer to Flin Flon and put a little distance between us and some teams behind us. But we've had chances to do that throughout the year too, and it just doesn't seem to work out that way. But yeah, we're gonna give her a go though.
Yeah, how I asked Koser this. How tough is it on a coach mentally? You can't do anything but coach the guys. You can't go out and change the complexion of the game on the ice with skates and a stick like you used to, Cody. How stressful is it being in a parity-filled league where you could be in first or second and then you go in a bit of a skid and you're in eighth?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure how much me or Kosher really changed a game all that often, but it was, as a coach, once the game starts, there's not a lot you can do. It's you can help guys with their mentality and some X and O stuff, but like if you're not ready to go the morning of the game, there's not a whole bunch that's going to change at that point. And so I think the lead up to it is obviously very important. Practice is kind of the coach's time, and we do a lot of stuff to make sure we prepare properly. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that games are fun, and the best way to have fun with that is to make sure everybody's prepared and ready to play well. And when we do that, our team does have a lot of fun.
Overall, though, looks like this hockey team is having a good year. You got to be happy with where you're at right now, all things considered.
Yeah, you know what? We've had a couple 10-day stretches that haven't been great. Like, we started slow in the new year, started 2-5, but now we've won 4 in a row. We had a little stretch where we were 500 late November. Other than that, we've been pretty consistent. If you were to look week to week, we've been, top 3 in the league the whole year. And I mean, I think that's something to be proud of, that kind of consistency and, ability to bounce back after tough games. That comes up huge late in the year and into the playoffs and stuff. So, I'm proud of our group for that. And, the coaching staff that I have with me is great with kind of mentoring and guiding our guys, into those situations.
Hey, how many years for you now in Weyburn?
5 as a head coach and GM.
Wow, time flies. Hey, so how is this Cody Mapes 5 years into it more able to handle the situation with both jobs than maybe when you first got into it?
Oh, 5 years ago, I didn't have a clue what I was doing, if I'm being honest. We, the everything from the X and O's, like I learned a lot from my assistant coaches I've had over the years. I've also learned a lot from playing some really good coaches too. The Mike Reagans and the Doug Johnsons and the Trevor Blevins and Braden Klamoskos, like those guys. We've had the privilege of playing three of those guys in playoff series, so you really get to dig into what they do. And we've learned a lot on that side of things. I work very closely with Kyle McDonald on the mental performance side of things, and the mentality that I have now, approaching games and stuff like that is way different, way more probably under control than I was 5 years ago. And, can still get a little fiery at times, but definitely more emotionally under control now and understanding how important that is too.
Hey, grade Cody Mapes, the GM. Did he help his head coach out at the trade deadline? Did you like did you like what the GM did for you?
Well, we added a defenseman with 3.5 years of WHL experience who has, I think, 10 points in 7 games. And we added a goalie, a 20-year-old goalie that's got 4 years in the Western League that's won a provincial championship in AAA. And, he's had a little bit of a slow start when he got here, but he's got 4 wins in a row and 2 shutouts in his last 4 games. So, I think that the GM probably did a pretty good job with that. And, maybe the most important part of that was we didn't give up anything, this year for that. There's some future considerations in a couple deals, but right now we're very much in win right now mode. And for us to be able to add 2 pieces like that without giving up anything is pretty significant.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so back to this week coming up here. After the bus scare and now these games, Nipawin and 2 against Flin Flon. How much of a measuring stick is this for your team? And I mean, it's kind of weird to say it like that because your team is at the top of the standings in your own division, but how much of a measuring stick is it for you to go on the road, tough week of action, will get you ready for the playoffs, I think. Like that, you kind of look at it like that, kind of going with the playoff mentality here?
Yeah, you know what? I kind of got this tip from another coach in our league that going up to Flin Flon is hard no matter when you go. But if you really want to figure out what you're all about, you go in late January, February, and you really get a good tell of what you are as a team going into the playoffs. And we had success there last year. We're going to build on that. We've had success. We've beat Flin Flon twice at home. Going into Nipawin, we've won in Nipawin this year. We beat Nipawin at home this year. Our record against those 2 teams would be pretty good right now. We just have to make sure that we stick to what gives us success in those games. I think just being present in those games is important, and not looking ahead to the next period or the next shift or anything like that. Just those teams are very quick strike, and games can get out of hand in a hurry, and so you just got to make sure you do your job in the moment.
All right. Well, best of luck this week, winning the games up north, and keep it between the ditches. Okay.
Thanks, Ballsy.
Okay, Mark, before we talk about the winter meetings and the CFL stuff, free agency and such, Calgary Flames, obviously they're kind of, I don't know, limbo's the way, like they haven't fully rebuilt, but I think they're headed that way, right?
Sort of, yeah. It is a frustrating way to do it. They haven't, torn it apart like teams like San Jose and Buffalo did. They're trying to get younger and younger, yet stay competitive, but that approach maybe has some merit to it, but right now it's not working. They're really limping into the Olympic break on quite a downer, and they'll have some big decisions to make over the break, but see where it goes. It's been a tough season, and we'll see if they can come out on the other side of the Olympic break with a plan to kickstart the rebuild.
Is Cody going to be moved, do you think?
Probably. I can see it. Here's why. At age 35, how many more chances does he have to win the cup? It's all in his hands, by the way. He has the full no trade. And I'll be blunt, he hasn't played that well. Since calendar 2026 began, he hasn't played all that well. And, maybe it's time to give some other people opportunities. I should point out he's been a very good teammate and very reliable and almost never misses a game, but it's probably, his time has probably arrived. And same thing with Blake Coleman, a very dependable forward. I think his time has arrived too. He has to come back from an injury, and he will. So we'll see. But, obviously it's been just kind of a frustrating time right now.
So how does the fan base feel about it? Like, do they want a total teardown so that they're really competitive when this new rink opens up? And, kind of almost, hate to say it, but kind of almost like Edmonton Oilers. You know what I mean? They kind of hit the perfect storm when they got the new rink. That's when they started to ascend.
Yeah, there's a heavy sentiment for tearing it down and going on Team Tank, and you should cheer for every loss. So there's a lot of sentiment on that. I gotta be honest, for going down, because there's two teams in the NHL that have never drafted in the top 3. One of them is Vegas, because the first year they drafted, I think, 6th or something, and then they never keep their first rounders after that. And the Flames. So maybe it is time to get into that elite top 3. They've drafted 4 a couple of times, but never 3. So there's a lot of sentiment for just, getting into the top 3 and getting an elite prospect. So it's called Team Tank, and it's got a big voice here.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders turned things around last year. Obviously didn't end the way they wanted, but, for 8 teams, it doesn't end the way they want. But your thoughts on what they've done so far ahead of free agency?
Well, I think it's been terrific. I think they've really got on top of it and got a lot, not all, but a lot of their really good players. They signed Clarence Hicks, the fine end, a 3-year deal. Eric Brooks, the receiver returner, to a couple years. They kept Derek Moncrief, who was, I knew he was a good player. I had no clue what kind of a leader he was in the dressing room. He was tremendous. And some other players as well that they've signed, maybe guys that aren't as prominent, but they've kept a lot of their own free agents, and I think they've done a really good job. Yes, some guys are going to go hit the market and not be brought back, but on balance, I'd say they've done a pretty good job.
How do you feel about this CFL calendar? Because it seems like most of the guys are done. Even the guys that got cut are signed right away before free agency kicks off. It almost has that NHL trade deadline feel to it, where now we need Michael Ball and Mark Steven to do some wacky stuff while we kill time.
Yeah, and sit for 6 hours outside the stadium or something. I get it. It does create a little bit of a off-season drama for sure, especially around the February 1st, when teams can start to talk, but nobody can talk about the deals except everybody knows about them. And then February 10th, when the actual signings can be announced. So it's a bit of drama. I get it. It's certainly something that keeps the CFL in the news and can change the fortunes of teams.
Are you surprised how things went for Trey Ford in Edmonton? Because he has just been released ahead of his roster bonus. It's Cody's team. They bring Austin Mack in. They had success with Cody. Just your thoughts on what happened to Trey Ford and where you think he might end up.
Well, 2 things. First, it's probably best for both sides that they part ways. He was brought in. He is electric at times, not all the time, but at times he can be just amazing. They tried to force feed him as the number 1 quarterback. Now, he never really logged on to the job, but they kept trying to put him back there because he became the fans' choice. But, they became frustrated that he couldn't hang on to the job. He maybe felt he was being unfairly singled out for the team's troubles, and believe me, they've had a lot over the last few years. So, I don't know. We'll just wait and see what happens with that. But I wasn't surprised, and I think in the end it'll be best for both. So, they don't have the situation of him looking over the shoulder of everybody forward, because certainly he can be electric at plays. I've seen some amazing plays. But and where would he end up? That is a very good question. Could Ottawa be there? I don't know. That's a possibility. They seem to have a lot of quarterbacks there. The thing is, he has to realize where he is in the pecking order too. If he's going somewhere to be a starter, he's going to have a long wait. He better be prepared to accept the fact that he's no longer A, going to get starters money, and B, not a starter. So, Ottawa has a lot of quarterbacks. Toronto seems to have some turmoil.
What about Winnipeg?
That crossed my mind too,
they got Wilson, but Wilson's not a proven guy, and they need to start looking for the replacement for Zach Collaros. And Elgersma seems to still want to, and no disrespect to the kid, I hope he gets that NFL dream, but now he's going to try the UFL, looks like, or at least he was drafted in the UFL. So I'm just wondering if Trey Ford wouldn't be a good fit in Winnipeg if, like you said, he's prepared to know his role.
Yeah, I think he would be. That was another team I was going to bring up, is just because of that. And, here's one little thing I would keep in mind. I think it's sort of a dot on the horizon possibility. But Ford worked very well with Jarius Jackson in Edmonton. And Jarius Jackson, now the quarterback coach here. The number 2 quarterback, P.J. Walker, suffered a very serious injury last year, and it's unclear if he'll be able to come back for the start of training camp. So I would say that's probably a dot on the horizon, but I wouldn't completely rule it out, because once you get past Vernon Adams, there's another very inexperienced quarterback there. So I don't know, but I would say they're way down the list.
How are you feeling as the voice of the team about Vernon Adams Jr. going into this year, like his play last year and going into this year?
Well, I would say that he was good last year. He had some erratic stretches there, particularly in the month of September, but there was far more good than bad. He got more confident as the season went on and played very well. He connected with all of his receivers. That's why there was nobody in the top 10 with the Stampeders, but he connected with everyone. He was a great teammate and got in there, so I think it was very good, but I think there's room for more. I really do. Second year in a system and familiarity, so lots to build on, but I thought it was a good season, maybe not an all-star level season, but he did an awful lot right.
All right, so you were around I saw you following you online there, and it was great to see some pictures from the winter meetings. What kind of vibe did you get with things going on? What were your impressions of the winter meetings and everything coming out of there?
Well, first of all, it's interesting to go to a meeting like that, and you get to talk to these coaches or managers without the pressure of the upcoming game standing there. So you got talked to a couple people that you talk to off and on during the season, but had a chance to spend some time with. It was a lot of football, but a lot of business as well, and it was pretty heavily structured with a lot of meetings. But I liked taking it in, visiting with the different people, hearing what they've got to say. The commissioner gave his big lengthy address, and overall it was quite good. Though I think it was really nice to be able to have something like this in the off season. It's moved around the last few years, but I can certainly see it makes sense to have it in Calgary this year with the CFL Grey Cup coming at the end of the year.
Yeah, excellent point. And your thoughts on some of the discussion in and around the rules? Like, we're going 35-second clock, but we're going to go 20-second clock the last 3 minutes. Like in my opinion, it's stick to one thing, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's mixed messages, and he says, I didn't get any pushback from these guys, yet you hear the Machoches and the Dickenses of the world and the O'Shea's giving you different stories. You know what I mean?
Can I tell you something? One of the benefits of standing there is I was standing there. I was talking to Ryan Dinwiddie, now with Ottawa. Mike O'Shea came up, and then around the corner came Corey Mace. So I'm sitting there saying, oh, gosh, these are 5 Grey Cups. Not one of them was consulted on any of these changes?
Yeah.
Like, think
That's
about
what I mean.
that.
Yeah.
Think about that. I mean, and then some other guys came, but those were 3 guys that were just arm's length away from me, and nobody talked to them. I think some of this stuff is solutions to problems that don't exist, to be blunt with you. The clock thing, I get it, because there's certain teams named Winnipeg that are excellent at squeezing a minute off the clock in the current format, so there's a way to tighten it up. I guess I'm not completely opposed to the 35 seconds, but then going back to other rules, I don't quite get that, in the final 3 minutes, which is, something that's, I guess, real trademark of the CFL. The shortened end zones, I mean, I guess that's okay. They went from 25 to 20 about 40 years ago when we all lived, right? So a few years ago, they moved the yard markers in on the sidelines, the hash mark. So I guess, I'm not completely opposed to change. I don't want to sound like, we have to keep everything in the leather helmet era. They didn't have to make that big of a deal about the benches going the opposite side. It's okay in Saskatchewan. Just that's an announcement. Just one line. Teams will next year have to have. Don't make a big. It's a good idea. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't that big a deal.
Well, listen, Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatchewan, and Winnipeg had it right all along. Like everybody had it. The main centers had it right all along. Yeah. I know for soccer and whatever other reasons they had it that way. But back to here's my problem with it. I will sound like old man yelling at clouds. Okay. Like you just said, Mark, I'll piggyback what you said. We're having solutions for problems that don't exist. Record scoring keeps going up, revenue's going up. So the 2 questions that, I haven't had a chance to ask him because he won't come on here to talk, and I haven't been in a room to ask him. But 2 questions I've never heard anybody ask him. How is this going to make us any more money? And the other thing they always he throws out there is modernization of the game. To me, that's just another way of saying Americanization of the game. That's how I feel.
Well, there's some merit to that. First, you're right. I mean, I know these changes were announced before the playoffs, but the 5 playoff games this year were absolutely sensational.
Yeah.
I mean, the Calgary BC game went to the wire. So did the Saskatchewan BC game in the West Final. And the Grey Cup was tremendous. So what exactly does the CFL need to improve? I'm not sure about that. And then you're right. I know the counter argument is 7 teams regularly lose money. The 2 moneymakers are Saskatchewan and Winnipeg. Okay, I can get that. It's a business. But, how does this guarantee they're going to make money? These deals. Yeah. And so it doesn't. But if the CFL really is in trouble, how come they could announce a big increase in players' compensation, which comes out of the same pool? It's a shared arrangement, shared revenue arrangement. There's more revenue, so it can't be doing all that bad. And the one that I still can't get my head around is the 100-yard field. I get, one of the things that came up to me is, well, you'll be closer to the end zone. Right, and so will the defensive backs. So just don't give me all this stuff. So on balance, I'm neutral on them. But I just would love to know, this is what nobody's been able to tell me. All right, the guy gets in the office the first day, and all of a sudden, he's got to fundamentally change the league. Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
And like
what was
you
the research used to validate that?
And it's just a bunch of vanilla stuff. While we have 300 years of experience in our office, and we use, like you said, you were standing next to Corey Mace, Ryan Dinwiddie, and Dave Dickinson, and Mike O'Shea there. You got all those guys. They forgot more about football than, sorry, no disrespect, they forgot more about Canadian football than any of the people in the league office. Bingo. And Mark Steven and Michael Ball.
Well, again, I'd like to see the research that went into this. There may be a compelling reason. Prove it.
Yeah, prove it. Exactly. Prove it.
Yeah,
and so
I don't know. There was something, it was kind of unsettling, the whole thing. And there seemed to be a common thread narrative out there that if you don't agree with it, you're something or other. I got ripped online by the great Luke Wilson because I dared to suggest they aren't all needed. He's one of the TSN people. I don't know. I don't understand the whole thing. I'm a little uncomfortable with it, but I'm not just going to write it off because we can't pretend that there aren't things that the CFL needs to look at.
Well, what I find interesting, and I appreciate you speaking out, because sometimes I feel like a lone wolf in the forest, okay? But I will say this. This is the thing we see it a lot with politics too, right? Where there's a narrative and everybody buys the narrative, okay? And sometimes it depends what side you're on. But I can't remember. We're blowing up. Let's not kid ourselves. We're blowing up a game, okay, that's been an institution and like that. And everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid. Like everybody, can you imagine? Like, doesn't that bother you too, that all of a sudden, or you're like, why is everybody drinking the Kool-Aid?
Not outside of Nathan Rourke, an extremely high-profile player. I didn't see much pushback. How much input did the PA have? Like, I don't know.
I don't think they had any.
No, I don't think they were told. Just like, here's the other thing too, the change in field length, that affects U Sports, including Regina's football program at the U of R, including Calgary's program at the U of C, the fields.
Well, what does the CFL do if McGill says we're not doing this, and if Calgary says we're not doing this? Because McMahon Stadium's on UFC ground. Is it not on UFC ground? Yep. That's UFC territory. So, and here's the other thing. 7 of the 9 teams don't make money. Their words, not our words. 7 of the 9 teams don't make money, but yet I think I heard the commissioner say that the teams are going to pay for the field changes. So if they're not making any money, how are they paying for the field changes? I agree. Will the University of Calgary McMahon Stadium pay for it? I don't know. Maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. But, and I also just think when you make such a fundamental rule change like that, why weren't U Sports, junior, high school, and other lower levels consulted? Yeah. Because to me, it's no different than the NHL, a few years ago when they went to 3-on-3 overtime. Well, every level below, followed suit because presumably you're playing U Sports or even high school for that matter, and hopefully you'll play in the CFL one day. Therefore, shouldn't you be following the path, the rules, and the traditions of the CFL? Yeah, very, very, very interesting. Well, Mark, I appreciate your time, man. I really enjoy your work and your online presence. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk soon, okay? Oh, we will. Free agency's coming up, and there's, lots that's already happened, but I think there's still lots more to come. A.J. Allen,
he's going to be the hottest commodity out there.
Yeah, he's out there. I don't think CJ Rivas has signed yet. That's a
No.
big one for the Rough Riders. AJ Ouellette hasn't signed. That's 3 off the top of my head right there.
Well, Deal too.
Yeah, and Jarvis Stearns is I'm closer to the Winnipeg situation now. He was a nice find there by Kyle Walters, and he hasn't signed there yet either. They got Tim White, so very interesting times in the CFL still yet.
And here, it's every team that wins a Grey Cup faces this. You win the cup. Thank you. Way to go. Good job, guys. Then comes contract time. Well, I had a lot to do with it, didn't I?
Yeah,
There you
exactly. And the radio guy should get
run
paid.
into it, and now it's Saskatchewan's turn.
The radio guy should get paid more. Shouldn't they?
We'll see. Will McMahon Stadium this year for the Grey Cup. Maybe we will. So.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I'm going to come to it. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it, okay?
Anytime. Thank you.